Hey Nation, what goes on? It's Jay with IRN. So today I'm making a custom-made Drusilla from the Boxer Rebellion from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So I started off with this lovely Drusilla figure. I used a two-part epoxy. Wearing gloves, I took two even parts and mixed it together until I had a nice epoxy. I started off by sculpting the around her neck where the collar is. That way I could get the detail, as much detail as possible. I used a toothpick to kind of get in there and get smaller ridges. I then went through and started sculpting the jacket, being sure to move the arms around so I could still have them not have have them be able to keep them for their proper positioning. This did take a long time. I had to do this in steps. So I just had to keep mixing more epoxy, smaller layers, adding collars, adding edges, trying to make everything just look as accurate to the actual photo, which was a little harder than I thought. I had to find the proper photos and scales and all that. I then added the cuffs from the dress that come out of the ends of the jacket. Again, using a toothpick the whole time to sculpt everything accordingly. But then I added some extra hair to her head to fit the, again, episode specifically. And just trying to make the proper lengths, proper design, all that good stuff. Using some sculpting tools, I just carved in some lines and added some hair to the top of her head to make it look more poofy, a little more like the actual time period it would have been. I did go through and try to sculpt some smaller details with some paintbrushes and whatnot. I didn't have footage of this, so I did the primary colors. I painted her hair black, her skin peach, her dress a light yellow, and her jacket a maroon. And like I said, I'm missing some of the footage. Sorry, guys. But yeah, these are just primary colors, watered it all down. I did paint the shoes a light shade of brown to just get it started. I will go back through and, like you're going to see now, I'm going to go through and water some paint down and just go through and do some washes of everything. I took a brighter yellow than the actual light yellow I used on the dress. That way I could just water it down and go over and give it some more dimension and depth, which is important when painting figures. You kind of keep it as realistic to how real life textures work. I did this over the whole dress, including the sleeves and cuffs and all that stuff. I took a light brown and I started going through it and did a light brown over the wash over the whole dress. Also, this is important because there's not like stark yellow really in real clothing. It might be that color, but shadows and all that dimension needs to be put in. So yeah, I did a few layers. I just watered it down with mostly water and a little tidbit of paint in it, so it's very watery. This is also dangerous. Be careful if you do this because it can drip and get everywhere. But the effect is worth it, and I do suggest doing it if you're trying to make the next, make the best out of your figure. I also did add it to the jacket too because it's important to make sure that the jacket looked proper and worn and everything. I took I made a dark red and watered it down, and I went over it, adding some black to the red. This made it look. I thought it made it look very realistic and a lot more mature and kind of fit the proper genre. So this is what she looks like with the proper washes so far on the jacket and the dress. I then did do a light wash of brown over her hair because even though she has dark hair, it wasn't completely jet black. So I kind of almost had a coffee color. I went over it and it was watered down very carefully with a small brush. I just went through and kind of got the wash over it. The photo didn't really take well. Sorry, guys. But it's there. Then I went through and I started just kind of doing a dry brush routine over the skirt and the dress and everything. And then I did a dry brush over the jacket, also just trying to make some colors pop. I took like a pale shade of red and a pale shade of white, and I think it's cream. I don't know. Anyway, so it kind of gave it this kind of effect, which was really important because everything was too dark. So then next I took a small brush and put some white acrylic paint on it, not watered down. I just started doing some detailing around the bottom of the dress, trying to add a little touch of what fashion would look like. Just add some reference photos, trying to get close to the idea I had. I didn't go all the way up with this. I just did around the bottom, just try to give like a little trim around the dress. It's one of my favorite effects I did on this outfit, actually. But yeah, I kind of went with like some like triangles and then some little dots and diamond shapes. So that's what she looks like with and I also did put a little tie on the on her collar. That's white also. I then took some black and I went through and started working on the eyes. I used a needle for this whole thing because it's a very small scale compared to what I'm used to. As you guys know, I make a lot of dolls. This was a harder one. It's about little. It's technically 6 inches, but this head was teeny. So I painted the blacks for eyes first with a needle, trying to get it as close to the actual shape of the mold as possible. And so she ends up looking like Dark Willow. But that's how we start off. I always go backwards. So start with the black and then move forward to the white. So same thing, just going through, leaving that thin black line around her eyes to give her, like, she looks like she has eyeshadow on or mascara, and or eyeliner, I guess. And so then we have this. I did leave a little black in the middle. I will be going back through and painting it with some blue, some dark blues, for the actual eye color. I mixed my own. I took some blue, I just went back and forth, trying to get it proper. This took a while, a lot of trial and error on this one, but sooner or later it did work out. I did have to mix it because it was coming out a little too dark. It looked almost black. So I had to do a little lighter, and that's what she looks like at that point. The next stage, I will have to add some other little, like some black to the center of the eye because, you know, eyes have black in them. And then, of course, add the eye shine, which is the most important part of the eye. Really, it really brings it to life, at least in my opinion. So, again, very small needles, toothpicks, all that good stuff, trying to make it look proper, just back and forth until I got there. And so once that was done, I will have a close-up in a little bit. I didn't get the photo of it, though, of course. I mixed some of the cream color I've been using and the, like, for this skin I used for this, the tan. I mixed it with a little bit of red and made a little lipstick for her. I didn't want to be too bright red because I didn't want to look like blood because she doesn't have blood in her mouth in this scene. So I did go back through and add some eyebrows later on. This is not the actual footage of that, but I did add eyebrows. Again, sorry guys, the footage has been a mess this week. Anyway, so here's what she looked like in the final result. I'm super proud of her. I love her to death. She's in a good home now. I created a little base for her, and this is our little Drusilla from the Boxer Rebellion. I made all the whole set, and she's my personal favorite, but I don't know. Let me guys, let me know what you think. Hope you liked it. Remember, today is not like yesterday. Have a great day, and as always, awkward silence. Bye. Hey Nation, what goes on? It's Jay with IRN. So today I am showing you guys how I made my Darla from the Boxer Rebellion from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So I started off with a season 2 Angel Darla figure because the likeness is better, and a Terra. I cannot remember the exact name of this Terra. I think it's season 5 Terra. Anyway, I popped Darla in half, and I removed her hair and removed all of Terra's limbs so I can just use the skirt. This is Darla with no hair, and I took a Sharpie and matched up to where I was going to need to cut it. That way I could Dremel it and just use the skirt because I just essentially needed a long skirt for this figure. And this is what I look like. I got this nice disassembled Darla. So I used the same Dremel with my polishing part of it to polish down the curves and all the edges so I can make it nice and flat so when I attach it, they will attach properly. With a 2-part epoxy, I mixed together wearing gloves and attached them so they'll stick together. So right now I got this very strange looking Darla. Of course, I'm going to go through with epoxy. I'm using 2-part epoxy this time, and I mixed A and B together. So I would get the proper consistency I needed, and this is what we get. We got this nice little ball of gray epoxy. Very important for this project. I then go through and I start smoothing everything over. I added some fur trim around the waist, and I added some sleeves, all with epoxy. I'm going through with a toothpick and carving in all the detailing for the fur. Then I take some epoxy and add it to the shoulders so I can add the little poofs of her outfit. Then I use epoxy and a toothpick and start layering the hair and adding curls the whole time, trying to keep it accurate to the photos. I have a bunch of photos of her right next to me. I then add a little teeny hat to the top of her head so that that I can paint later, and I use a small row of buttons, and this is what we got. This is our sculpt for our Darla. It wasn't a lot of, it was like, I mean, it was a medium amount of work, wasn't too crazy. I mean, just attaching the body together was the worst part of it. Then what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to go through and add all the primary colors. Right now I'm starting off with a maroon because she wears a maroon dress, and I always like to start off with a good base coat first. Just that way, make sure it's all the right, tones, and we're not doing anything too crazy with, like weird patterns underneath it. Especially with this dress like this, we're gonna need to go through. I'm not watering this down just because it's clothing, so I don't personally think it needs to be all that smooth. Unlike skin, which I will be watering down because that's very important. So here we go. We're just like having a maneuver around, not painting ourselves too much. Anyway, I add a little paint to the hat, and boom, we got ourselves a maroon Darla. Yay! Now I'm going through with a medium brown and just painting the fur. This is a little tedious. I use my 0.8 brush for this. I do not remember exactly which one it is. The numbers have worn off at this point. It's just the one I go to. It's my go-to brush. I am buying more in soon, so yay, I can paint again properly. Again, this is not watered down. This is just normal. This is just the paint that is my generic go-to paint. It's good. It's acrylic. I'm rambling. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so now I'm taking a light yellow, and I'm going to go through and do the base out for the hair. I start off with the lightest color, and then I'm going to add on later with some darker tones for washes. But right now, let's just start off with the lightest kind of yellow we can get. Again, trying to get all the nooks and crannies proper, and making sure we don't hit the hat, and trying to keep everything nice and clean, which is hard because the hair is curly, so we've got to be very careful using the smallest brush possible, especially when it comes around being close to the face, because we do not want to be getting too much excess paint, especially on the face, because then that's our adding layers, and then we're all of a sudden we have a bumpy weirdo. So anyway, this is what she looks like with all the hair painted, dress painted, and the fur painted. Now I'm get to do the fun part, which is the skin. Yay! I'm kind of kidding. I don't know. It's a lot more work. So I'm using a pale peach color, I believe it was, or a tan color, and I watered it down. I'm doing about 3 or 4 layers over the whole thing to get proper coverage. The thinner the layers, the smoother the skin. So just nice and thin layers. Take your time on this one. This took me forever. Couple days of just going back and forth till we get this nice pale vampire. I did not paint the eyes or the lips because it's so small. I really didn't want to mess it up, so I left the factory paint eyes on this one. I then take a pale brown and I water it down so it's a nice wash, and go around the whole thing so I can make it look more real and more weathered, which is important for this kind of situation because it's a grungy scene. So then I do the same to the hair, trying to make it look textured and better, because blonde is not just bright yellow. It is a bunch of different tones. So just, of course, I will go through and lighten up certain shades, but right now I'm doing a very watery brown across the whole hair. So this is what we get. She looks nice, but the hair is not proper. It is not how I wanted it. It looks too dark. So I'm going through with a light gold, brown, and yellow, and just painting individual strands so it really looks curly and looks like the real picture looks. This is a weird back and forth, but it's important. We'll get there sooner or later. I do like the metallic part, adding metallic paint, gold to this, just because it really brightens it up and looks more alive and looks more, like a real human, like blonde color. I do take a needle now, and I go through and I just touch up the eyebrows, give her some nice brownish eyebrows. Like a light yellow blondish kind of thing. I then go through and I fix her lipstick with a red, and then I add with a small brush. I add a choker and a red choker and a gold little medallion on it. I then go through and make a dark brownish black, and I go and start painting the lace around the bottom of her dress. I do have a reference photo beside me the whole time, which is important because I want to make sure I got it get it the right shapes and everything. So this was, a little bit on the hectic side, but I had, just sooner or later, just small strokes, you get there. So, yeah, like I said, the real dress, I think, had some lace on it, so it was like a rope kind of lace. I don't know. It was pretty, so I wanted to make sure I included it, even though it's a small detail, it's still important. So then I take some metallic silver and go through and add the little diamond detailing. I can't tell if it was diamonds or like little silver buttons. Either way, it was little shiny things on the real dress, so that's what I went and added. I also then touched up the buttons and add some, some color to the buttons. I think it's gold actually for the buttons. So the next part, which was kind of fun, I took some epoxy glue and some black lace and added it to the hat, adding a little teeny veil. And then every time you use epoxy, make sure you use gloves. You know, whatever kind of epoxy, it's toxic, so be careful. I also took a small teeny feather and added it to her hair, well, to her hat, which added a nice little touch. It was a different medium, and it's kind of fun. I don't know, it's one of my favorite parts about this figure. I used a skewer toothpick thing to push everything into place and make it look like stick properly and everything. And the epoxy really holds it all nice together. But this figure was kind of strange. I really did enjoy making. Anyway, this is what Darla looks like from the Boxer Rebellion. I'm super proud of her. I love her. I'm just a big fan of this piece of work I did. I hope you guys enjoyed her. She was fun to add to the rest of the series of these characters. And yeah, so the next photo will be of her and Drusilla. And thank you guys for watching. Remember to leave a comment, rate, and subscribe this video. Hit the notification bell. And remember, today's not like yesterday. Okay, awkward silence. Bye! Hey Nation, what goes on? It's Jay with IRA. So today I'm going to show you how I made my Boxer Rebellion Spike. I think it's a Max Spike figurine with a long jacket. I did run out of my footage, so I'm showing only photos. So I used 2-part epoxy, and I sculpted his hair, and I sculpted the collar, making it a little longer and giving him a ponytail in the back. Like I said, I did lose all my footage for this, so I'm doing mostly from photos. I added some detailing for the buttons and stuff on his shirt. And I sanded down where the shirt underneath it was originally. I added some suspenders like he has in the episode. Again, all 2-part epoxy sculpt, which is my favorite medium personally. I also took some 2-part epoxy and fixed the bottom of his pants so it matched the outfit and didn't, to fix it properly. Sorry, I'm rambling today, guys. Okay, I started off with the primary colors of brown and a light yellow on his shirt and a brown on his jacket. I then took the lightest yellow I could find and I started painting the hair, making sure that I got all the nooks and crannies so there's no gray shining through. I always like to start off with prime colors just so I have a base so I know where I'm going, so there's nothing shining through afterwards. Using one of my zero brushes, I go through and I get as close to the hairline as possible. Then what I did was I took some brown, I went over the suspenders. I go back and forth on this because I could not get an actual photo of what I thought the color was on the suspender, so I kind of kept going back and forth, but I like what I get at the end. With some watered down brown, I go over the hair and start filling in some of the roots and try to make it a little more natural blonde color because he's not platinum blonde in this scene, he is natural blonde. So, and a light watered down brown over yellow normally gives me the effect I like. You can always practice and try on your own to see what you get, but this is how I do it. I did paint a brown undershirt underneath all this, but I again lost the footage. I then take a red and I go through and I paint the suspenders a couple times. At this point, I think I lost the footage of where I do his skin. I just watered down the white, not white. Ugh, I don't know what I'm saying. I watered down the peach color on his skin. It's the palest color I could get. And then I watered it down and covered the whole thing. And now I'm just going through and detailing like the ribbon in his hair, tying it back with a brown, and now I'm just watering down some colors and just going back and forth and trying to get the proper detailing I want. With a needle and a toothpick, I outline the black of his eyes, and then I add the whites and then the iris color and whatnot. Again, this video is a little odd for me because I lost so much of the footage. I did mix a light pink color for his lips, using the smallest brushes possible to paint that, of course. And I don't have footage of it, but I did use some soft pastels to shade and give him some depth in his cheekbones. And now I'm just going through and detailing the jacket, adding buttons, adding whatnot, adding a little blue to the eyes, things like that. Anyway, so this is what I got. I added a little red to his the blood cut on his forehead, and here's my Spike. I'm really proud of him. I love him a lot. I hope you guys like him, and thanks for watching. Remember, today's not like yesterday. All right, hit the subscribe button. Bye, guys. Awkward silence. Hey Nation, what goes on? It's Jay with IRN. So today I am making a custom angel from Buffy the Vampire Slayer from the Boxer Rebellion. I'm starting off with this. I believe it's a season 1 or angel Mac figure. I'm starting off by covering the doll in saran wrap. I made up a small little jacket type form out of some material I had left over. Just pretty much the long part of it, no sleeves, just the main part of the jacket. I'm covering the rest of the figure with tape and saran wrap to cover it safely because I will be using glue on this. So what I'm doing is I have this little teeny felt kind of dress thing. I'm then taking a epoxy, two-part epoxy glue, and covering the complete jacket. The idea essentially here is that when it hardens, it'll become like plastic, and I'm using the material as a hold, essentially just to hold the glue, because at the end of the day, the whole thing is the glue is what we're making essentially. It's a little weird concept, but I'm really glad how this turned out, and it works really well. So yeah, but you do want your figure completely covered. Anyway, this is what I was looking. By the time it was like 3 or 4 layers of glue, but it's this nice hard plastic. So then I took some epoxy and I just kind of filled in some of the gaps of the material where it wasn't smooth like I wanted it. Combining it with connecting to the sleeves, all that stuff, adding some fur trim, all the little details to really make it a jacket, not just a piece of gluey material. I also added a tie and a vest like he has in that episode. Making sure I get all the little details with a little sculpting tool. I did a few different layers on this, hair, all that good stuff. So just back and forth with two-part epoxy. I have part A and B mixed properly. Wearing gloves the whole time, of course. Always wear gloves when using epoxy. That's what they've always said. So, I do later on go back and sand down this hair because it wasn't really what the order called for. But I don't have that on camera, so just heads up that the hair will be sanded down slightly. And it looks a lot better in the final footage and the final photos. But yeah, this was an interesting one because there was a lot of adding on to it because he was just kind of a basic outfit originally. So I had a lot of work to do to make him look like the outfit specific moment. Anyway, so here's the finish of the sculpting. I'm proud of how it turned out. I had the tie, all that good stuff. I do take a file and sand it down to try to get it as smooth as possible, and then I go over the jacket completely with black. Make sure that it's all one color. Like I always do, I try to get all the primary colors done first because that's important. I don't want any epoxy showing through. I also paint the hair black originally. I will go back through later with a wash though on it, of course, because nothing's jet black in this world. So anyway, here we go. We got this. We got the basic black color painted. Once that's all dry, I'm gonna go over the. I went over the X-Acto knife, clean up some stuff, and then I take a maroon color, paint his vest and tie, and then I'm going to go over and paint the fur trim. I start off with a white and a gray color, go back and forth with light gray at this point, I guess. Anyway, I then take the white over it and I do some detailing. I also paint the collar, make sure to clean up around the tie, which is important. I then do water down some brown and I go over the hair and do a wash on the hair to give it the proper shade that Angel has. This does take a few tries to get it the right color because he doesn't have brown hair, it's more of a dark brown. So then I take some water down, I think this is a light tan or peach color, and watering it down every time I brush it on just to get it as smooth as possible. I'm trying to keep him pale because he is a vampire. That is something that I think is always lacking in these figures, is that a lot of people make them too tan and they're supposed to be pale. So every time I dunk the brush in paint, I also dunk it in some water so it smooths out the streaks, so you don't see the paint strokes as much. This is a very handy tool, especially if you can't afford nice paint. I then take some watered down black and I go over the collar and hit that with a wash to fill in some of the gaps and make it look a little more real. And so this is what we have so far. I did do some detailing on the jacket and the vest. Then I go over and paint some gold on the lines for the buttons and the the pockets. And then I add some black for the eyebrows. Of course, I have a reference photo right next to me. Then I paint the blacks of the eyes first, always painting backwards essentially. So this is essentially his eyelashes, I guess. Then I paint his lips while I wait for the black to dry. Then I paint the whites of his eyes. Sorry, this photo's a little blurry, but paint the whites next. Then I go through with some brown, paint the brown of his eyes. And then what? We add the eye shines and the iris, the black in the middle of the iris. And then this is the final product. This is after I fix the hair. It does look a lot better now. But this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys for watching this. Thank you guys for sticking with me while I made this weird series. It's a little strange, but it was important to me. But I really do like how they turned out, especially this Angel turned nice. I don't like Angel. He's my least favorite character, but I'm glad I made him, and he works nicely with the whole set. This will be the end of the Boxer Rebellion set videos. It was a lot of fun. Here's the whole set together. I love how they look together. It's one of my favorite sets I've ever made, and I'm so glad the person who owns them is happy with them. If you guys are interested in more videos like this, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you'd like to see. I love doing this kind of stuff. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Remember, today is not like yesterday. Alright, awkward silence. Bye! Hey Nation, what goes on? It's Jay with IRN. So today I'm doing something a little different. No, it is not a doll, but it's in the same kind of idea. I'm making a pop figure. Um, I didn't film this. I took just photos of it. It was easier for me to sculpt and whatnot with this. Anyway, so I got this little Buffy from a friend in honor of a holiday that she's celebrating where it's about giving back. It's called Hope Day. I'm super proud of her for doing it. She sent me this as a gift, and I am supposed to customize something cool out of it. So what I'm doing is taking the Buffy, and I'm going to pop her head off first. As I showed earlier, her hair is kind of loose, so I just got to clean the head off and just fix some stuff. So pop the head off with some boiling water, and now I got a little headless Buffy. I then popped off her little arm because I'm going to be taking the crossbow out of her hand. So that there we go. There goes the crossbow. What I'm doing is I'm trying to make this like the original movie Buffy. So it's a little extra work. So I am going to use a Dremel tool to cut off the skirt because the outfit I'm going for is from the movie where her skirt is short. So I use the Dremel to go around and cut off the excess. And then I learned the inner workings of a pop figure. It was exciting, kind of crazy. I dremeled down the edges of what was left of the legs so I can make them look smooth, like she's wearing, like their legs. And then I cut them in half with a Dremel, and I ended up having two cute little legs. And it actually surprisingly worked for the project. I also didn't use a little polishing part of the Dremel in order to clean it off so it looks a little smoother edges. There's a train outside. Sorry, guys. Like I said, her hair is kind of popping off from the edges. So what I'm going to have to do is pull it all the way off. And then I had this horrible indent in the head, so I will have to reattach the hair better. For the body part of the body of the figure, it's hollow on the inside, so I need to fill it with some epoxy. So I took some aluminum foil, shoved it in there first. So I didn't use too much epoxy because it's expensive. Then I just kind of made a smooth little bottom for the epoxy. And then shoved the little legs in and smoothed it over. And after a day of hardening, it worked really well. She stands perfectly fine. I also did add some detailing to the dress to make it look a little more torn like the actual outfit. So I need to add a cross in her hand because, and this is the scene at the end of the movie where she uses a cross and a bottle of hairspray to kill the big bad vampire. So I use a Dremel to cut a little edge in the hand so I can put the cross in it. And it fits and they're really nice. It looks a lot better, and I'm quite proud of this actually that it worked. I used a prop from one of the Buffy figures of the cross. I also cleaned off the cross necklace because at this point she did not own her cross yet. Her cross necklace, I mean. She hadn't met Angel yet, so it didn't happen. Anyway, so I popped the head back on, and now it's time to glue her hair back on. I use a 2-part epoxy clear glue. I'm obsessed with it. It glued it really nicely on, and now it's on there for good. So if you ever need some. I didn't glue the arm back on yet. I just wanted to see how she looked, and it's getting the right pose, and I'm quite excited. I then took a light shade of, I think the proper term is marshmallow, in order to give her a bleached blonde look. I wanted to go for a lighter blonde because at this point she was had lighter hair. I then took a pink color and I painted what was left of the crossbow to make it into a hairspray bottle. It's the only thing that would work, and I liked how it turned out. I also used some metallic silver on the top for the nozzle so that she can have a little spray bottle for her hairspray. And then I painted the dress white. And so now her dress is all white. I also painted the tights and the shoes and added some straps to the dress to make the whole outfit look proper. I then used some small detailing brush and I fixed some of the black of the jacket so she looks a little more clean and better. And now all that's left was to reattach her arm and put it all together. So again, with the 2-part epoxy glue, I glued it back together. Anyway, so here's my Buffy from the end of the movie Pop's figure. This was fun and difficult. Honestly, it was a lot harder than most of my other stuff because I'm just not used to doing pops. I tried to keep that essence of what a pop figure looks like. I didn't want to, change it too much. I wanted to update her a little bit. So the props really did help. They came in handy, giving her a little more, of a real edge. So anyway, I hope you guys like this. I don't know if I'm doing more Pops figures, but it was fun for a one-time shot at least. I might do more in the future depending on how it works. But anyway, like I said, this was in honor of my friend and celebrating this holiday with her. So I hope you guys like it. Have a great day and awkward silence. Bye. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more of our content, check here and here. And if you want to become an official member of the Nation of iRandomness, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon if you want to make sure you get all of our notifications. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Bye. Come on, click it. Click the button. Click something. Come on, click it.